Recently, a piece of knowledge came to my awareness that may be key for some of us and help us do better with our health. So, biofilm. I did not know that word. That's a new word for me. Biofilm. What is it and what does it do? Okay. So, biofilm is created when a bacteria, a fungi, parasites, or viruses or other microbes adhere to a surface, and then in their life cycle, they begin to secrete a polysaccharide matrix that's very sticky, and it also robs your body from minerals to help create a rigid structure and plaque so that it can adhere to you somewhere and create a sanctuary colony in which to hide and flourish. And one or more types of microbes can live in the same biofilm colony, actually sharing DNA. They communicate together, they work for the success of the group, so to speak, and they are not our friends. They are secretly thriving until there is an opportune time for them to attack the body. And this little cartoon I thought was very apropos. So I'm fed up with this guy. Let's become pathogenic. Okay? Yes. Biofilm inhabitants require less oxygen and nutrients than our body's cells and are not dependent upon our blood circulation to thrive. Oh. So there are some things that getting good exercise helps with a lot, but not so much with biofilm, okay? So, another little cartoon there. They're building in numbers so that they can attack together. These unfriendly microbes hide in the biofilm and are difficult for the body's immune system to detect. If the body doesn't know something's there, it's not going to make fighter cells to take care of it. Antibiotics rarely penetrate the biofilm. They can only work on the microbes that have become planktonic and that are floating around, not attached to biofilm. And that is when you're prescribed antibiotics, and fortunately, the antibiotics can eradicate those. And one of the reasons why that is important is because, as you'll see, the microbe or pathogen is floating around and somehow gets into your system here in number 1. And it's called attachment. Oh, I can't even read that. Thank you. My glass monolayer. Okay. Now, at this stage right here, all of this right here, the loose stuff, that's when the antibiotics and other types of treatments for microbes is very effective. But then something happens, and it attaches to your body tissues, and right there, it begins to make a colony. All of a sudden, it has a protection, and it's harder for the body to get rid of it. Then what happens from there? Oh, it starts to grow. It's making more babies and more film, and then it kind of grows up and kind of like a flower and gets ripe, and then it pops, and it sends more of these things out into your system so that they can go to other places and set up house. Yikes. So during the life cycle of the biofilm communities, there are several types of byproducts that are produced. And these byproducts are poisonous to us. Mycotoxins, that's specifically related like to fungi infections. Endotoxins, which are created by the pathogens themselves. And exotoxins, which are coming from the biofilm. Okay? And for people who have fibromyalgia, they probably have some of these toxins floating around helping them hurt, okay? Very important. So as these biofilm communities flourish, these toxins are released into our systems, and they help make us feel sick. Yeah. So treating illnesses that are associated with the biofilms is an uphill battle for antibiotics. And additionally, antibiotics are very destructive to our friendly flora. So as we have learned in the past, 70 to 80% of our immune system is living in our digestive tract in the form of friendly flora. So when we are doing things that damage our friendly flora, we're basically doing this to ourselves. We're going to pick up that hammer and we're going to hit the side of the jar to get out so that the cat can have us. Okay? So if we can do things in a more natural way without the antibiotics, we might want to try that. Now, I want to tell you, in all honesty, I have had antibiotics recently, and I was glad to have them. Just saying. But now I'm on a program to rebuild my flora and other things to help get me back on track. And sometimes we do need these interventions, but we don't want to use them indiscriminately. So, according to the National Institute for Health, more than 80% of all human bacterial infections are associated with biofilm. So what does that mean? That means that it was sleeping in you waiting for a time of stress, or whether that would be an injury, a mental stress, a physical stress, so that the body's immune system is slightly lowered, and then they jump out and make you sick. Yes, yes. And so where are most of these biofilms located? Well, sinuses, the GI tract, the oral cavity, the vascular system. We've all heard about plaque in the vascular system. Well, what did we just learn about plaque? Plaque is the anchor for the biofilm, where naughty things grow. Yikes. Okay. They can also be on devices and implants. Okay? Contact lenses, endotracheal tubes, prosthetic cardiac valves, stents, pacemakers, vascular grafts, tissue fillers like breast implants, butt implants, cheek implants, anything to fix your vanity. Okay? Urinary catheters, dental and orthopedic implants, and prosthetic joints. Some of us need these things. But there's going to be some good news, so don't panic, okay? Don't panic, because some of us do need these things, and we already have them. Now what do we do? So, how are biofilm infections diagnosed? Well, actually, they're very, very difficult to diagnose, because the microbes are tucked away. Therefore, when you swab or culture, they often show up negative. The microbes living in the biofilm have adapted themselves so that they don't need the things that render cultures effective. They don't need the food that's in the culture in order to get them to grow, in order to be alive and replicate. So normal culturing doesn't even work for that. Oh my goodness. So how much you know if you might have a biofilm issue? Number one, if you have any of those implants mentioned and you've had them for any length of time, you probably have biofilm issue. What they're doing now is they're beginning to infuse these implants with enzymes, with essential oils and other things to help prevent the biofilms from growing, at least for a time, okay? So if you suffer from Lyme's disease, you have biofilm. If you have lupus, you have biofilm. Chronic rhinosinusitis, you have biofilm. Irritable bowel disease, you have biofilm. If you have had strep infections, 1/3 of all strep infections are related to biofilm infections. If you have diabetes, 100% of everybody who has diabetes has biofilm living in their small intestine. 100% of every diabetic. It contributes to your disease. And because that's their job. If you have chronic inflammation, you have biofilm living in your body. If you have socks on your teeth when you wake up, or even if you're not waking up, you have biofilm living in your oral cavity. Okay? So, now we're going to talk about the good news. Is there a way to control this biofilm? Is there a way to get rid of it? Is there a way to help ourselves through this amazing destructive process? Well, I'm not recommending any of these products. I'm just showing out there on the market, oh my goodness. This knowledge has been around long enough for people to try to make money on it. Okay? So there are enzyme therapies that will help dissolve your biofilm. Okay? Now we're going to look at this again. Look at the first one, the reversible absorption of bacteria. That is where your ordinary immune system can detect it and send out the signals from your flora in your gut for your body to make the fighter cells to kill it off before it attaches. Number 2, what's that called there? They're calling that irreversible attachment of bacteria. I don't like that word irreversible. Okay? I'm not sure that's truly accurate, but I'm just saying that's what it says there, right? Once it attaches, you're getting into trouble because then they begin to grow and divide and have waste products that produce their own protective biofilm in number 3. And number 4, they really begin to get with the program and multiply. And then number 5, they invite their cousins and their friends to come and live with them, okay? That's very serious, don't you think? It's a hostile environment. Now remember, the biofilm matrix absconds minerals from your system to make the plaque that cements it to your tissues, okay? These minerals could include iron. I have been chronically iron deficient my entire life. I'm wondering how much of that is due to biofilm. I know I've got it. I probably have a lot of it, okay? Because I have a number of those that were listed in the, if you have this, you have biofilm. I got a number of those things going on, okay? So calcium, magnesium, copper, those are our good ones, okay? But it could also be mercury, arsenic, aluminum, and other detrimental metals. What if, when your body was getting the biofilm invasion formed in it, you had leaking mercury fillings? It's very likely that that biofilm matrix has mercury in it. Okay, what if you were a smoker and they used arsenic on as a pesticide on the tobacco plants that you smoked? Probably your biofilm is going to contain arsenic, okay? And aluminum. Aluminum's not our friend either. There's other detrimental metals, okay? So when these biofilms begin to be dissolved by those enzymes you just purchased because you're going to get better, what happens to those minerals? They're released back into your system. So you may need help getting rid of those heavy metals if you have any, okay? You may need some chelation to help you get rid of that. One of the body's best defenses against forming biofilm is to eliminate the harmful microbes in stage 1, as we learned, right? Very, very important. And how are we going to best do that? If our immune system is Johnny on the spot. So how do we get a good, healthy immune system? Well, by doing the 8 laws of health helps a whole lot. A whole lot. Okay? And so, as we learned, once again, this stage is the area where the fungicides, the antibiotics, the parasitic control medications can work, right here. Once it gets to here and here, it's harder. And then without the help of the enzyme therapies, it's not going to be going away. They're just going to sleep and wait until an opportune time. How many of you have had dear ones that they got sick and they got well, they got sick and they got well, and you thought that was normal? And then one time they got sick and they got sicker and they got so many things piled up on top of them that they did not make it and they died. What happened there? Well, the biofilm saw an advantage and there was a critical load of these things waiting to attack, and they attacked on all fronts, and then the person expired. Does that make sense to you now? Not everybody dies that way, but some people do. Or maybe some people died and they didn't know all this other stuff was going on unless they did an autopsy. Okay? I mean, these things. So, antibiotics and other types of medications have their place, but they can be limited. So we need to do our part. Oxygen therapy is limited in effectiveness in combating these colonies. So are fungicides and antiparasitics. Now, enzymes. We heard that word, enzymes. Well, normally, the enzymes that we get are from our raw fruits and vegetables. And why are they there? They're there to help us to digest that so that our body can get nutrition. And most likely, even just going raw is not going to be enough enzymes to dissolve these biofilms because they're needed for the food that you just ate that contained them. You're going to probably need concentrated enzymes because, especially in first world countries, we do the most unthinkable thing and eat the worst diet on the planet and have all our enzymes already killed for us so that any reserve enzymes that we had in our liver are needed to digest the food that doesn't have any anymore because we cooked it out of them. Okay? So, yes, going raw is, eating a lot of raw is all good, as long as your body can tolerate it, because some people can't handle that roughage. It gives them terrible tummy ache, at least unless they start very, very slowly. But you have to understand, we need to be eating more raw. It's good for us. Okay? Another thing that we need to do is stop eating those things that are particularly delicious for especially the biofilms in stage 1. Or not the biofilms, the microbes that are in stage 1. And what would those foods be? Sugar, number 1, alcohol. Dairy is a really not good one, especially if you have sinus problems because it helps you create even more mucus. There's a lot of things there's a lot of good reasons to not eat those things, okay? When you look at it from this point of view, it's like those things don't sound so yummy anymore, do they? If we eat food whole, the way God made it, with all its fiber and stuff intact, it's a lot healthier for us, okay? So we want to remember that 70 to 80% of our immune system is our friendly flora located in our digestive systems. I want to tell you, I can't even believe this happened. Okay, so I took the big gun, okay? I got rid of the bladder infection. Oh my goodness, I got rid of sinus infection I didn't know I had. I thought I just had chronic sinus whatever that is, rhinitis or whatever. Oh yeah, I do, because I have biofilm living up there, and it is an infection. It's been there for years, and I was told, oh, it's just that. Well, I said, oh, it's just that. It's no big deal. No, it's a big deal. There's stuff living in there that doesn't belong in there. And when I was on those antibiotics at day 2, I could breathe. Guess what? I can't breathe. The antibiotics have been over for about 10 days or so. And guess what happens when the antibiotics go away? Oh, it all just thrives again because it can't eradicate it all because it's hiding in the slime. Okay? Oh, yeah. All right. And so I started using my nasal rinse with probiotics in it, and I have had a little more success. But again, even those probiotics can only treat at stage 1 when they peek their little heads out, trying to increase their colony size, okay? So, back to the enzymes, all right? And so I would suggest, in addition to having a well-designed biofilm enzyme package for removing that from your system, you need a well-designed probiotic supplement, okay? Because you've got to keep that healthy and strong and able to get rid of those things when they do peek their heads out so they can't raise their little heads and make new colonies other places, all right? So we need sometimes chelation help to get rid of the toxins that are released when the biofilm dissolves. Praise God, without even understanding what I was doing, I was able to chelate myself in about 2 years from heavy mercury poisoning that was so high it couldn't even be charted by taking a mineral called MSM. My body was able to tolerate it. Not everybody can tolerate it. It is a form of sulfur, okay? So not everybody can tolerate MSM, but I was able to tolerate it. And in approximately 2 years, I had single-handedly consumed about 60 pounds of MSM. And when Dr. Holthouse tested me, I had no heavy metal poisonings of any kind. Praise the Lord. I didn't have to go through some blood transfusion type, clean up your blood and give it back to you and all that. I didn't have to do that. But different people are different, and different people respond to different things. So if you need a doctor's intervention to get rid of your heavy metals, please take care to be careful and don't just do something because Audrey said so, okay? We need to remove from our diet those things that encourage us to grow unfriendly microbes. And we need to boost our immune systems. And that's more than just probiotic supplementation. Did you know, this is kind of gross, but do you have a lot of sleepies? Do you have little things on your eyelashes that you have to wash your face every day to get those off? If you do, guess what you have? In your little hair follicles around your eyes, you have parasites living. And that gooey stuff that you have to scrub off your eyes and your eyelashes is their waste products and part of their biofilm. Yes. And you can use essential oil washes, and it will reduce their numbers because when they stick their little heads out, it can kill them, the essential oils. But if you do not get through the biofilm, there's still a seed there. And as soon as you quit using that product, it's going to come back. And I have personal experience. Okay? So we need to dissolve the biofilm. Again, back to these things. We want to remember, first of all, we try to keep ourselves clean. We wash our hands regularly to prevent unwanted things from entering the body. If we get an injury, we wash it with soap because the soap destroys the outer little edge of the bacteria and stuff oftentimes and causes them to pop and die before they get to this stage, okay? May God bless you with the reception of this knowledge that we can all make good choices. There are things we can do. If you already have prosthetics, please get on an enzyme program so that you can control that. Yes, Susan?
There's also a product called Zeolite. They can make it synthetic, but it's natural zeolite. It's available, very bioavailable. There's really high quality ones.
And that's for chelating?
Pardon me?
Is that for chelating?
Yes, so what zeolite does, it attaches to heavy metals. If they're getting released, like your process, then their body's naturally going to take them to the liver. And most of our livers, especially if you're sick or older, is overloaded or sluggish. Zeolite takes heavy metal out of kidneys. So it's voiding the liver, and so you have, more than one pathway of
That's excellent, excellent information.
zeolite spray. You can spray it on your tongue. It doesn't taste like anything, and it's excellent for heavy metals.
That's wonderful. And have you had your metals tested to see how effective it's doing?
I just had a mineral tissue analysis through the hair, and I do have some mercury and aluminum, and so that's why I just started taking it.
Okay, so let us know.
I was on this before.
Okay, let us know your,
I'll tell you, Vika
yeah.
had a lot of heavy metal poisoning when she was so sick, and she did a whole bottle of the zeolite. We did 3 hair analysis every single time her heavy metals were going down.
Wonderful.
Her liver was so toxic, it was taking it out through the kidney, so it wasn't
An issue. It wasn't adding to the burden. That's wonderful news. Yes. And so as you're just learning even here, there's more than one way to chelate. If you need help, please make sure you get the proper help if you need that. Now, not everybody who has biofilm has got a heavy metal problem, okay? But it is becoming more and more common, especially for those of us who grew up in the area of mercury poisoning. And the mercury, yeah, we were mercury poisoned in our dental amalgams.
The naturopath I go to, he said that every time he does the mineral tissue analysis through the hair, everybody has heavy metals,
I wouldn't be surprised.
especially aluminum and mercury right now.
Yes, because they are preserving a lot of the medications in aluminum and mercury. And so when you take your medication, you're also taking your poison. Okay, well, thank you so much, everybody, and may the Lord bless us with this knowledge.